Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to talk about putting tiles on the toe kick area on the lower part of the cabinet. Now you have alternatives when you purchase cabinets, or if you just want to upgrade them. You could put a piece of wood across there and then face nail it and you'll be good. You could put on that rubberized molding that goes on the bottom. You glue it on there and then that would be as good as well. But in this case, we're going to put on tiles. We want to have the tiles match the floor, so that way the floor and the back toe kick area are exactly the same. So let me show you what kind of tools you're going to need, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this job done. I will tell you this: you can use. I will not be using the wet saw in the house because a wet saw, as you know, is a little bit messy. So I will be using it outside on a grassy area, because when you do a wet saw, it does throw a lot of water around, so it does make a little bit of a mess. So we're going to do that part of it outside. You can if you have a wet saw. If you don't have a wet saw, you can pick up in the big box stores the tile cutters they have that you can cut these tiles with. It is a manual hand strike type tile cutter, and it does a job just as well. A little more difficult to do any kind of intricate cutting with it, but you can still get it done. So I will tell you, let me just show you what kind of tools you're going to need to get the job done. Let me bring it in here and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is what tools you're going to really need. We're going to need some kind of an adhesive to hold the tiles on the wall. We're going to need a trowel with a fairly large notch to put the glue on the back of the tiles. A couple of tools here to actually take the glue out of the bucket. And these are actually pliers that are made to chip away and take out little sections of the tile as needed. And the reason we may need to use this is because down on the bottom over here, you see where the two cabinets come together right here? Where the two cabinets come together, obviously it's a piece of wood right up inside here. And if you want to get the tile up above that, we need to notch it out so it could fit in there a little bit better. All right, so let me grab some tiles. I'm going to make the measurements I'm going to need, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to cut it. And then I'll measure out this here, and we'll cut that too, and we'll cut out the tile for that. And then we're going to come back and we're going to put tiles all along the bottom right here, so that way it'll match the floor. We're going to leave a little bit of a space in here so we can put grout inside here as well, but that's what we're going to do. All right, so all right, let's go outside and we'll make our cuts, and then we'll come back and we'll put this together. All right, so we're ready to go outside now, and we're going to cut our tiles to our desired length. We did go inside, we measured underneath the cabinets. We actually drew across here a line so we know where we're going to be cutting. We are going to use a wet saw outside, like I said, because inside it makes quite a mess. It throws a lot of water around, and we don't want to make a mess inside the garage. If you don't have a wet saw, you can use the hand tile cutter too. It works just as well. The lines may not be a perfectly smooth line, but you will still get a fairly decent cut that's going to be up underneath the bottom of the cabinet anyway, so personal preference. All right, so let's get outside. Let's cut a couple of tiles, and then we're going to get back. I'll show you how to use those pliers to actually to chip away at the tile as well. All right, so let's get outside and let's cut some tiles. Okay, now with the saw itself, we have this guide bar on the side, so you can set the thickness of the tile that you need to cut. So once we set the guide bar up, then we can take our tile and we can, put it in the saw. Once the saw is running and the water is kicking all over, as you see, you can just run it through the saw, but you want to make sure you don't hurt your hands or use a tile to push it through. All right. Now when you have to cut out something like this, you'll mark the area that you're going to need to cut, and then we just go to the wet saw and we take it and we move the bar on the one side so it can touch up against it, so that when you run it up on the saw, you can get a nice straight clean cut. All right, so here we go. We're going to start it up, and you can see what I mean about the water kicking out of it. That's why we like using it outside. Without the water, though, you'd wind up damaging the blade, and you'd wind up getting a lousy cut. So that's why we needed to have the water. All right, so we can make our cuts along the line as needed. Right, we're just going to finish it off by cleaning off the one end a little bit right now. And then as you can see, it makes a nice clean cut wherever you need it to actually cut the lines. And then we're just going to wipe everything off because it does leave a lot of the tile material on there. And then we'll bring it in and we'll be able to glue it up with a perfect cut for the bottom of the cabinets where they come together. Okay, so we have our tiles cut now, and we marked our tile here where we need to cut it across. You know, we put these marks down in here and we cut it down this way, but you can't get in here with a tile saw to cut along there, and that's when something like these come in handy. These actually chip away at the tile, and you could cut it out the way you need to fit around the two cabinets. All right, so first thing we're going to do is I will tell you this: wear your safety goggles, because when you try to chip away at these tiles, sometimes pieces do go flying. So let me show you how it works. What I always do, instead of cutting all the way across like this, which is a little bit difficult to do, you can just take a little bit at a time, just like this, and you can chip away at it. Just like that. See? Just little pieces at a time. You don't want to do it too much. Now, if you're doing this in a house, of course, you want to be careful where your tile pieces are going, because you will have to pick those up. You saw me turn them over because you see that they're offset just a little bit like that. We do the same thing right here, just like that. So now we have a nice straight line through here. Now, if this was going to be showing, you could take a stone and you could file this down to make it a perfectly clean cut. In this case, it's going to be hidden all the way up where you're never going to see it unless you're laying on the floor trying to peek up underneath the cabinet. So this is good enough for what we need right now. All right, so that's it. So we're going to do 2 more of these because I need to cut 2 more the same way. And as soon as I get them cut, we're going to go inside and we're going to put these tiles on and we're going to get this job wrapped up. So, all right, stick around. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you how to do that. You want to cut it down to this point here. So you want to take very small bites out of it at a time. You don't want to go too big because you may wind up cracking the tile across the top. So little bites, just like that. All right, and that's it. That's how you do it. Remember, just take little bites out every time. You don't need to take these big bites out of it because the bigger the bite, the more of a risk of the tile cracking and splitting, and you'll be doing it all over again. All right, let's get inside and let's wrap this job up and get them glued up. Okay, now we have all of the tiles cut to put onto the back over here, and you can see we have them all notched out here as well. We just laid everything out exactly how it's going to go, so we know where the tiles are going to go. All right, now this is personal preference. I'm not going to use it in this case, but if you wanted to make a space between the tile a certain distance, this adhesive actually holds very well. But if you wanted to try to hold the tile in a certain distance, you would actually come in here with whatever size you wanted. This one here I think is 3/16. This is 1/4 inch. And these are actually, they sell these as well in all the big box stores too. These are wedges, so that when you take the tile and you lift it up against here, and you put the adhesive on the back, you could put the wedge underneath here like this to actually hold the tile in place when you sit the tile on top of it. I can't do that one, but this is the way it would go. It would go like this on top of the wedge if you choose to use these. I'm not going to use these because the adhesive actually holds these tiles on really pretty well without the adhesive. The other thing you're going to do too is, and this is again personal preference, if you want to set them by eye, you can do that because there's only the back kick area. If you want to use spacers, you put the spacers in here like this, and you could actually set your distance between one tile and the next. So once they're stuck up on the wall, you would, or on the toe kick I should say, underneath here, you would put these in there to keep the distance here set to a 1/4 inch or whatever you decided to. I'm probably not going to use these either. I'm just going to go by eye because, like I said, it's only underneath here. But if you were laying out a whole floor, then you'd want to use these in between each one of the tiles so that you have a perfect line here, here, and here. But that's not the case here. Another thing you can do too is you can use these. Instead of, if you don't have these wedges, you can take these and you can just cut it like this, and you could use it in here as a spacer for where the tile is going to go. But again, I'm not going to do that either because it's only a very small area. So, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of the tiles, we're going to take them like this, turn them over of course, we're going to put the adhesive on the back here, and then we're going to use our trowel like that, the notched trowel, to actually, notch out the adhesive on the back, and then we're going to stick it up. All right, it sounds easy, and it's really not that bad. So, all right, let's continue. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now is we're just going to move our other stuff out of the way here so it doesn't interfere. This is our first tile, so we're just going to take it, and we're going to, I use a, I'm not going to use those either. I just use a spackle knife to take some of this on here, like that, and spread it on. You could use the trowel if you choose to, but this is the way I just do it. Put it on here like that, so that it coats the entire tile itself. All right. Come over on the side here. I'll do the exact same thing. We're putting on a lot more than we need to because we're going to trowel off some of it. Okay, just like that. And you just take your trowel like this. And I usually go from left to right, so we're just going to do this. I always clean off that little bit right up on the top right here, because when you put this up in here, it's going to squish out a little bit, and this avoids making a mess. For me, it takes a second, but it saves from having to clean up a little bit later on. All right, so now that we have that done, we take our tile like this, and we take it up here. You stick it on, and you just move it around a little bit just to get the adhesive spread around. All right, and then we set it to the distance we want it, and you can see it pretty much stays right there. And then we'll take our second tile out. Now I do want to point this out. The cut part here is facing up. The uncut part here, here, and here is what faces down on the floor. Not too important, but that's just the way I did it. This. Now this is the flat end that was not cut, and this is the end that was cut. So that end we're going to put up. Again, just stick it to the toe kick area, and you just move it around a little bit just to get the adhesive spread around, and then you would actually just set it to where you want it. And then if you chose to use these, you would put them in here like this, like that. and you can set your distance in between the tiles like that. Okay? But you can go by eye with this one because it is such a small area. Okay? Take our other one now, do the exact same thing. Okay, now that we have everything put in place where it's supposed to be, if the tiles slide or you need to move them around a little bit, now is the time you want to do it. Once they dry, then they're pretty much set, and they're not going to be moved any longer. Alright, so you see putting the tiles on the back, on the toe kick area is really not that difficult. We're going to let the adhesive dry for a couple of days. We have to check the manufacturer and see what they recommend as far as the drying interval before you put the grout into the joints. But that's it, toe kicks are all done. This job is finished for today. I will tell you this, if you have any kind of the glue on your equipment, you want to make sure you clean it up at this point, because once it dries on there, it's going to be on like cement, so it makes it very difficult to clean. Any adhesive that you have on anywhere else, on the tiles, on the cabinets, or wherever, you want to clean it before it sets. That's it. Alright, so once it dries, we'll come back and we'll grout it, and that's it. The toe kick is done, and it'll match in with the floor as if it was never disturbed, like as if it was always part of the entire job. Alright, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.